Hey everybody, welcome to the Down the Road Travel Channel. My name is Will Van Winkle. Recently we went to our hometown of Houston, Texas for a family issue, and with our limited free time, we decided to head out to the Kemah Boardwalk, then go over to Galveston Island. Because we had our dog Chewy with us, we consulted bringfido.com to see where we would be able to bring him, and found most of the boardwalk would allow him on patio sections. There are several websites that I've found over the years that offer this information on pet-friendly activities or dining, but I found Bring Fido to be the most up-to-date and accurate. Before we headed towards the sea, though, we made a quick stop in Houston's Museum District to look at the Rothko Chapel and the Menil Building, and we were off to find the sculpture gardens. But having driven overnight, this was Friday evening. By now, we were pretty exhausted. With a dog, we couldn't really go into any places, but I got a couple of shots of the outside, so you get a nice idea of what to expect. But we'll save the bulk of the museum district for another time when we actually have time to get in there, because there's just so much to do. So on Saturday, when we headed towards Kemah, we went the back way through Pasadena. There's a lot of construction, so be patient when you get there. There are two entrances to the boardwalk area. The main one will get backed up. There was a Celtic festival planned for the day that we were there, so parking was $10 no matter where you went. You could try your luck at street parking, but we decided to get out of the Texas sun. Yes, even in March, the heat can turn your car into an oven in Texas. So we opted to pay the fee and park in the garage. We came around the back area from the garage towards the boardwalk, where there's a lesser-known and usually cleaner restroom. And the first restaurant you'll see when you come around that corner is the aquarium. This is where you'll find Stingray Reef, where you can feed and touch live stingrays for a fee, of course. We then walked towards where the dancing fountain is. Sadly, it is off. I would have found it very funny to watch Chewy chase the water, because he probably would have been aggravated when he couldn't catch it. Kids love it, but I don't know if they're closing it for cleaning, repairs, or if it's still kind of a leftover COVID restriction. But while we were right there, we decided to check out a couple of the drink and snack kiosks, where we purchased a combined 5 feet of pina colada and frozen strawberry daiquiris, and began walking along the boardwalk towards the amusement park area. The boardwalk has many restaurants, shops, a train that takes you around most of the boardwalk area, a speedboat tour called the Boardwalk Beast, spectacular views of sailboats and the bay, an amusement park area with games, which most were not open. Most of the games were not open. The rides were all operating, and a wooden roller coaster called the Boardwalk Bullet. These are on a ticket system, much like a carnival. And ride tickets can be purchased directly at the kiosk by the amusement area. And I just recently found out that day passes are now available as well. And there are 2 price tiers for that, under 48 inches and over 48 inches. So depending on the ride, you need to decide which pass you need. And there are military and veteran discounts available with a valid military or VA ID. And this gets you $2 off the day passes for the tickets, and I believe it is 10% off at most of the restaurants. With all of the activities that there are, plus live entertainment, Kemah is a great place to spend the day. There are plenty of hotels. Camping is nearby. Easy access to Houston, League City, Pasadena, Deer Park, Galveston, everything in the area. It makes it a great travel destination, especially if you have pets with you. It can get a little crowded sometimes in the area, especially during special events, so be careful if you have smaller dogs, or if crowds tend to give your four-legged friend anxiety. We had planned to eat at Landry's right at the corner of the boardwalk with the best view of the bay, but we were too full of rather large, albeit low alcohol content, frozen drinks. So, giving ourselves a break, we decided to go ahead and head all the way down 146 towards Galveston Island, and then we would find some seafood once we were on the island.
Texas Highway, it's been a long, long time. Take me on my way, maybe just for a while. Now 10 years gone, stay with me through the miles. It's been too damn long since I've been home.
So, we made our way over to Galveston using Highway 146 to 45 South. We exited the freeway at 61st Street, made a right, and headed down towards the seawall. Now, when I left Houston in 2008, I believe it was, this wasn't as well known of a route. Most people would just simply take 45, which dead-ended into Galveston, and just keep going straight, and that dead ends into the seawall. You go one way, you'll find more restaurants and shops and things. You go the other way, you find more kind of like fishing jetties, I guess they're called. It's a little more well-known now, but it's still less crowded. Now, I can also say that anywhere along that stretch where you're going from 45 onto the city streets, any of those lights that you come to, most of them will take you to the seawall if you make a right. So you're not, if you miss this exit, you're not stuck in traffic forever. You do have options. Our first stop, however, was for some clean restrooms and much needed water, and we stopped at Walmart. Hi.
I am now.
Welcome to Walmart on Galveston. Walmart on Galveston is not that much fun. It's actually a very horrible place to be.
But it's a clean public restroom.
It is a clean public restroom. So if you're looking for a public restroom that's not like, you know, hey,
disgusting, or you gotta buy
only,
something,
and you can't get in there, you know, you need a bag of ice anyway, go here, take it. I'm not going to use this.
You could have used it up to the point where you said take shit.
Yeah, because YouTube's cracking down on bad language. So, you know.
But it's good advice to tell people where a good, clean public restroom is, and that was actually a very clean. That was much cleaner than the average Walmart restroom.
Yes.
Typically speaking, Walmart restrooms are disgusting, but that one was very clean.
Well, if you went to the front restroom, they just cleaned the women's one.
They did. I was waiting for them to finish. I was the first person in after he cleaned it.
Well, there you go. That's why it was so clean.
Well, good timing or not, it was a clean restroom.
After everybody was back in the truck, we drove down the seawall, looking at places we've been, looking at some of the new places that were built after Hurricane Harvey destroyed some of the old landmarks, like the Bolognese, which ZZ Top had a song about, and the Flagship Hotel. Now it is the Pleasure Pier, so it's like a little amusement area with rides and games and things like that. Parking used to be free all along the seawall. Now that has changed. To make things more convenient, however, you simply send a text to the number on the signs, and you can add time from there if needed. Current rates are listed as $2 an hour with a 2-hour minimum, and it shouldn't exceed $16 daily. So yearly passes are available if you need them. This does make it a little convenient, and it does control people, for example, moving into the area, which you used to see RVs parked along there all the time, and they'd be there for weeks at a time. Free parking still does exist, though. It can be found on the north side of the Seawall Boulevard between 12th and 19th Streets, 33rd and 39th Streets, 53rd and 61st Streets, 85th and 91st Streets. All other parking spots along the seawall are paid. Do not park at the businesses across the Seawall Boulevard unless you are patronizing them. They will tow, and I have seen this happen. People would go into, for example, Kroger or Walmart, grab a bottle of water, hightail it across the street, get down on the beach, and be there for like 8 hours. Now, the tow trucks tend to camp out in these larger parking lots, and if you are not back at your vehicle by a certain time, they will tow. And 8 hours in a grocery store, it's kind of unrealistic. They know what you're doing, and they will move your car for you. You do not want to be stranded on Galveston Island without your car. It is not a huge island, but I know from having a transmission case break open, it's not fun walking around there all day waiting for someone to come get you. By now, we were hungry, though. So we headed towards the cruise ship docks to find food. Again, we consulted Bring Fido to make sure we weren't going to be turned away anywhere. And we found parking in the area, $7 for the first hour, $13 for 2 hours, etc. Most of these restaurants here validate for up to 3 hours. So even if you're not buying food, be sure to at least go in and grab a drink. See about getting that parking validated. We grabbed lunch at Willie G's Seafood and Steaks with a view of the port of Galveston, where the massive cruise ships arrive and depart. And this is also where the dolphin tours are located, which are also mentioned as a pet-friendly activity. Now, my dog is crazy, and I did not want to see how he would react to being on a smaller boat. If your dog is a little more docile, apparently they're more than welcome on there. After lunch, we boarded the ferry. This is a free service operated by the Texas Department of Transportation. It's been in operation since 1934 and can carry about 70 vehicles depending on size and 500 walk-on passengers. Now, 18-wheelers, RVs, larger vehicles have been seen on the ferry, and they are allowed. It's a free service. And camping is allowed on the Bolivar Peninsula beaches, or some of them. So if you are traveling in your RV and you want a free spot to stay for a night or two, this may be the way to do it. You can get to these beaches by going up I-10 and exiting Highway 87. It does take forever. This is actually going to be the shorter route for most people. Now, obviously, if you're coming from Louisiana, it may be a lot less time consuming to go the I-10 to 87 route. But if you're coming up anything from Houston, San Antonio, anything like that, going through Galveston may be the shorter trip. The ferry operates 24 hours a day. It links Galveston Island with that Highway 87 in Bolivar. And it's a 3-mile-ish trip, taking about 18 minutes, not counting loading and unloading times, which can be a little slow sometimes if they're maneuvering a lot of larger vehicles or a lot of walk-on passengers. On Bolivar, you can find beaches where you can park. There is now a parking permit required for these beaches as well, which must be purchased from local shops. So I recommend either getting your permit before you get on the ferry, or at the there's a store on the right-hand side shortly after you exit the ferry on the peninsula. That would be the other place. If you don't do this, you may miss many of the less crowded beaches before getting over to, I believe it's Crystal Beach, where you find another shop. Pets are allowed on the ferry, must remain in the vehicle. Vehicle has to be off with the parking brake set. Pets are also allowed on the beaches, must be on a leash in Bolivar. So, if your dog is half as crazy as mine, make sure you have that leash. And if you are on the ferry, you may have to stay in the car as well. We're taking the Bolivar Ferry, which is a free service operated by the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. When you're on the ferry, animals need to stay inside, so I'm sitting inside the truck. Chewie is not happy about the fact that we're moving but not moving, and Dana's not in the car. So he's kind of freaking out if you can't hear him. But we're almost docking, and saw a couple of dolphins, or Dana did, and Chewie's freaking out. Often while on the ferry, you can spot dolphins, and seagulls can be fed from the back of the ferry, and it must be the back of the ferry for obvious reasons. We did spend a little time on the beach, just enough to add about a week's worth of sand to the truck, and then got back on the ferry to go visit the Strand. Now, the Strand is more of an entertainment district on Galveston Island. It has dining, shops, bars, live music. This is where they hold their Mardi Gras celebrations in February, and Dickens on the Strand around Christmas time. Now, obviously, that's centered on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. By now, though, it was time to head all the way back to the north side of Houston. Remember, at any given time, Houston is about an hour away from itself. So this is a bit of a haul. If you are trying to get anywhere in this huge metropolis, give yourself plenty of time. Now, keep in mind, Houston battles Chicago. They go back and forth between third and fourth largest city in America. Chicago has better public transportation than Houston. Although Houston does have some public transportation, it is not the best. I do want to point out we barely scratched the surface of what there is to do in the area, focusing more on Kemah and Galveston, obviously. But there was a book at one time, I don't know if it's still in publication, called 101 Fun Things to Do in the Houston Area. You used to be able to get this over at the Museum of Natural Science Gift Center. I would imagine if it's still in publication, it's going to be on Amazon or wherever you can buy books. And it gave a good insight of things that you can do inside, as well as up to about a 2-hour radius around Houston, including Kemah, Galveston, and there was even a free aquarium over in the Angleton area. If you're planning a trip to the area, be sure to give yourself plenty of time to explore those surrounding cities. It is well worth it. And I hope this gives you an idea of what can be done in the area. I promise, though, there is plenty more to do. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the Down the Road Travel channel. If you like the original music used in the background, be sure to check it out right here on YouTube or wherever you stream music. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the road.
I won't be coming home. Let's hit the road.